How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, to give you playoff preview, wild card series between the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. So here we are. We made it. We made it to the postseason. It is upon us. It begins tonight as I'm recording this, a little under an hour before the first wild card series begins, and that is, I think it's right. Is the Cubs and the no? It's the Tigers and the Guardians. They get things started at 1:08 p.m. Eastern time. Then Padres Cubs on ABC. That's at 3:08 p.m. Eastern time. Then the Yankees and the Red Sox at 6:08 p.m. Eastern time, and then to cap it off, the Reds and the Dodgers. Yes, the Cincinnati Reds made the playoffs. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Yankees, they ended up tying with the Toronto Blue Jays on top of the AL East, but because the Blue Jays had the tiebreaker, they won the season series. They ended up clinching the AL East, and they get a first-round bye, and they will play the winner of this series between the Yankees and the Red Sox. But I wanted to cover the series with the Orioles briefly. Yankees ended up completing the sweep. They finished the regular season on a hot streak. They finished on an 8-game winning streak. 9 out of their last 10 games they won. They're playing really good baseball right now, which you love to see if you're a Yankee fan. And there was definitely a level of focus going into this final stretch here because the Yankees knew what was at stake, and they just had to keep pace with the Blue Jays. And they did that. It's just unfortunately the Blue Jays wouldn't lose either. Now, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox, and you were hoping maybe the Rays would at least take 1 out of 3, and that would allow the Yankees to win the division. But the Blue Jays, they ended up completing the sweep pretty easily. The Rays made things interesting in the first game on Friday. They had second and third, I believe. So they had the go-ahead run at the plate, but they weren't able to get anything across. And then the Blue Jays jumped out to an early lead against them on Saturday. They won 5-1. And then the Rays jumped out to an early lead, but the Blue Jays put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the first inning, and Alejandro Kirk grand slam, and they ended up winning that game 13-4. So the Blue Jays, they win the AL East. And listen, when it comes to the division, the Yankees really have nobody to blame but themselves. They had a 7-game lead at one point. They lost it. And, then they had to try to make up ground. They didn't play well against their AL East opponents. They played really well down the stretch here, but it was too little too late. You had the opportunity to win the division, and you lost it. And if it wasn't for a lot of the games that you ended up losing early on in the season when the bullpen collapsed and Devin Williams ended up blowing the game, and on top of that, after the trade deadline, when all the bullpen acquisitions gave up runs and you blew a 5-run lead to the Marlins. I mean, there's so many games you could point to. They lost a game to the Colorado Rockies. There are so many games that you could point to. And the fact that you had a 7-game lead, you could point to all that and say that's why the Yankees didn't win the division. So they have nobody to blame but themselves. Look, if they would have won at least one more game, if the bullpen didn't blow it at times, if they didn't lose to the Colorado Rockies one time and just completed the sweep, they would be the ones having the home field advantage throughout the American League. They'd be the team that has that. And they finished with the same record as they did last year, and they had home field advantage. So they went from that to having the same record but being a wild card team. So look at that. But look, they just, they went 20-31 over that 51-game stretch. That too. So it's a game of inches, and that shows right here. That's why when people talk about early on in the season, they downplay games in April, and even if the season starts in March and May, those games, every game matters. This is a prime example of every game matters. And the same thing goes for the New York Mets as well. Again, we'll talk about them in this episode. But the Yankees did what they were supposed to do over the weekend and on this homestand. They swept the White Sox. They swept the Orioles. They ended up winning on Friday, 8-4. Giancarlo Stanton got things started off with a 2-run homer. And this was actually a 2-out rally for the Yankees in this game. Bellinger walked, and then Stanton hit his 22nd homer of the season. But then Will Warren gives up a 3-run homer to Jordan Westburg, and you're thinking, oh, man, that's not good. But the Yankees, they didn't blink. They put up a 4 spot in the bottom of the third inning. Aaron Judge, his 52nd homer of the season, to make it 4-3 Yankees, and then Stanton homered again to make it 6-3 and the Yankees tacked on a couple more runs. The Orioles did get a run, Tyler O'Neill homer. Final score ended up being 8-4. Will Warren, 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. And he completes his rookie campaign going 9-8 with a 4.44 ERA. So, I mean, all things considered, I mean, how we viewed this guy, we'll take the season that he had. We'll take it. And the bullpen did its job. Only 1 hit was given up. And Doval, Bednar, and Mark Leiter Jr. each recorded strikeouts for 6 total strikeouts in total. There were some walks in this game from the bullpen. But, the Yankees got the win there. Then on Saturday, they won 6-1. Sagano was going for the Orioles, and Cam Schlittler, his final start before the postseason. Potential Game 3 starter if this series with the Red Sox goes 3 games. Judge hit his 53rd homer of the season. Stanton another homer. Ryan McMahon even homered to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead. Then Judge an RBI single later in the game. Bellinger a 6-0, a sac fly later on after that. And it was, 6-1 Yankees. Cam Schlittler pitched very well, 7 innings, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, and then you had Paul Blackburn pitch the final 2 innings, and he actually is on the wild card roster. And Judge, that was his final homer of the year, so he finishes up the year batting .331, 53 homers, 114 RBIs, 12 stolen bases if you care about that, and 1,145 OPS. MVP, that's another thing we'll talk about as well. So 6-1 Yankees pick up their 93rd win of the season, and then on Sunday, low-scoring game. Yankees end up winning 3-2. Luis Gil on the mound, a couple of homers from Ben Rice, as well as an RBI single by Giancarlo Stanton. Those are how the Yankees got their 3 runs, and then a couple of solo homers by the Orioles, Jordan Westberg and Gunnar Henderson. A couple of solo homers in the top of the 4th gave him a 2-1 lead, and like I said, then the Yankees answered with the Stanton RBI single, and then Ben Rice in the bottom of the 8th inning hit a deep ball out to left center field that got out, and he finishes the regular season with 26 homers on the year. Very good year for Ben Rice. Really excited for his future. I mean, we just talked about Judge, but I mean, Ben Rice, I mean, he's going to be, if he could be like this, and it looks like he's going to be potentially he's going to be an everyday player, whether it's first base or catcher next year. 26 homers, 65 RBIs, and 836 OPS, about a little over 250. I mean, if this guy is playing every day, I mean, he could hit close to 40 homers next year. That's what this ceiling could potentially be for Ben Rice. So I'm really excited for his future. This could be another guy, that the Yankees develop, because, some of the guys that we were hoping for, had high expectations for, and we're hoping that they were going to have big years. They really didn't. But Ben Rice was a young guy, first full year, really, and he really delivered. So, again, I'm excited for Ben Rice's future. And then the bullpen did its job. Fernando Cruz, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, and David Bednar all pitched scoreless innings. The bullpen has looked really good as of late, but now we got to see what it does against better competition. So the Yankees completed the sweep. They finished 94-68 on the season. Again, the Rays didn't really help them out this weekend, but we just went over it. Yankees got nobody to blame but themselves for not winning the division. But, they're coming in winning 8 straight. And now they take on a team that, kind of owned them during the regular season. The Yankees, when they last played them, they were in Fenway. Yankees won 2 out of 3. The only game they lost was against Garrett Crochet, who will be getting the ball tonight against Max Fried. Very good pitching matchup tonight. So the pitching matchups, it's Garrett Crochet against Max Fried. Then you got Brian Bayo against Carlos Rodon tomorrow. And then you got Cam Schlittler against to be determined. Now, I think it was going to be Lucas Giolito, but now he's out for this series, which is a huge blow for the rotation of the Red Sox if this ends up going 3 games. And also the Red Sox are going to be without Roman Anthony, who hit a home run off the Yankees, and that ball is still orbiting around the stadium, that home run that he hit. So how do I feel going into the series? I feel like out of all the teams they could have played, this was probably the worst draw, just because of how the Yankees played against the Red Sox this year. Now, they did win 2 out of 3 in Fenway, which does give me a little bit more confidence going in. But here's the thing. The Yankees haven't beaten the Red Sox. They haven't eliminated the Red Sox from the playoffs since 2003. 04 happened then after that. The the 3-0 comeback. 2018 ALDS, Red Sox won that in 4 games, and they beat the Yankees 16-1 in Game 3 of that series. And then the 2021 wild card game was the most recent playoff matchup they had against each other, and the Red Sox won that too. They beat up on Garrett, who will not be pitching in this series, unfortunately. So the recent track record against the Red Sox in the postseason and also in the regular season this year is not great. And on top of that, I feel like the Red Sox have the advantage when it just strictly comes to the manager. Like, I just feel like Alex Cora runs circles around Aaron Boone. But I think the Yankees roster is better than the Red Sox. So there's that. Talent could outweigh all that. They got to go out there and show it. Like, I do believe the Yankees can win this series. But I also can see the side of they don't hit against Garrett, Crochet, and they're out very quickly. And that's what's just unfortunate about this kind of series. Because, I mean, first of all, it used to be the wild card game. And then before that, there was just one wild card team, and it was 4 teams in the division series. There was no wild card round. But it's just, now it's the wild card series. Your season could be over in 2 games after just playing for 5-6 months, and just like that, your season's going to be over. But that's just how it is, And listen, I think we do have some pretty good matchups here in this wild card round with the 4 series we got. I feel like the Dodgers series could have been better, if it was another team and not the Reds. But credit to the Reds for getting in. I actually did have them making the playoffs this year. If you go back, I'd have to go back to the not Infinite Sports, GSMC. If I had to go back to their archive and look at my predictions, I did have the Reds winning the Central, but I didn't have them making it in as a wild card and beating out the Mets. So, but that was all because of Terry Francona. That was my reasoning. It was because Terry Francona is a great manager, and he proved that once again. First ballot Hall of Famer. But yeah, we got some good series here, but back to the Yankees and the Red Sox. It's going to be a tough series. These games, I expect them to be very tight, closely contested games. And what worries me is, look, I said it, the Yankees bullpen has been very good as of late, but there are a lot of guys in this bullpen that I don't really trust in a big spot. Like, Devin Williams has been pitching very well, but I could see him coming in a big spot here if the Yankees have like a 1-run lead or something, or they're down 1, and then something bad happens. Or Camilo Doval, who's been pitching well. If he comes in a big spot, he's been looking better. But, he could be erratic with his command, and he starts walking people. Same thing with Fernando Cruz. Fernando Cruz, if he gets you swinging on his splitter, he's great. But if they don't bite, he could walk people. Luke Weaver, we've seen him struggle this year. Tim Hill can only really get out lefties, but you know what? In the postseason last year, he was awesome regardless. So if the Yankees got to use him at any point, even against righties, I got confidence in Tim Hill. And Mark Leiter Jr., because if you remember, Ian Hamilton got hurt in the postseason last year. Okay, Mark Leiter Jr. wasn't on the playoff roster. Then he gets added to the roster, and he got some big outs for the Yankees against the Guardians. So maybe he comes through. But I'm just saying that's what happened last year. And Bednar has been very good, has been a very good acquisition, but he's another guy that could, put guys on base and make you stress out a little bit. So I am worried about that. Max Fried, look, he has struggled in the postseason in the past, but he is a World Series champ with the Braves. He's going to have to come up big. And I think he's going to pitch well. I think him and Crochet are going to go back and forth. I mean, this could be a game that gets decided in the later innings and who has the better bullpen. And the Red Sox, with all their ex-Yankees that they have, they know how to pitch to the Yankees. So we'll see how it goes. But it's going to be a tough series. Nothing would shock me from this. It really wouldn't. Obviously, with what's in the background, where I'm leaning. But the Red Sox have a great chance. The Yankees are not heavy favorites in this series by any means. But their stars are going to have to show up. Giancarlo Stanton is going to bring it like he does every postseason. I mean, you go back to the 2021 wild card game. If if the Green Monster was like, 4 or 5 feet shorter, Stanton would probably would have had 3 home runs in that game. They probably still would have lost, but that's how good Stanton was in that game. He hit the single off the Monster in the first inning. Then he hit that double that Phil Nevin ended up sending Judge, and he got thrown out at the plate. But that was close to going out. And then he had the home run in the ninth inning to right field. So I mean, he was listen. He was a one-man wrecking crew in that game, and that's really where I was like, I am never gonna talk bad about Stanton again, because what him and Aaron Judge did towards the end of the 2021 season, they single-handedly carried that Yankee team to the playoffs. So I know everybody loves what Stanton did last year, but I was on that train in 2021 when the postseason for the Yankees was only 1 game. And then last year was unbelievable. And seeing all the Stanton edits, I just hope we get to see that kind of run again, because the Yankees season could be over in 2 games. And then you don't really see it. And the same thing goes for Aaron Judge. Okay? It was a very long offseason for him. Okay? And I see all the videos, all the memes from last postseason, and just guy's not clutch, doesn't get it done in the playoffs, when the lights shine the brightest, all that. He hears that. And I think he's coming into this postseason with a chip on his shoulder, and I think he has to deliver. Well, not I think. I know he has to deliver. And I think, in a way, you could kind of spin it where maybe it's a good thing the Yankees don't have this layoff, because Judge is coming in hot, finished off the season on fire. So maybe he comes in and he just he picks up where he left off. Does have a couple of home runs against Crochet this year. Both were in losses. He did strike out to Crochet a ton of times this year. But hey, listen. All you need to do is just run into one in the first inning. Set the tone. Do not allow the Red Sox to take the crowd out of the game. That's very important. You don't want that to happen. Now, it doesn't matter regardless, because I just don't think the Red Sox are fazed by anything. Like, I don't think the Red Sox are coming in scared of Yankee Stadium, what Yankee Stadium could do to the players. Now, I think they got some young players on the team that are going to find out very quickly, like, wow, this is different. And if they end up moving on and they end up having playoff baseball at Fenway, they're going to be like, this is awesome. Because Fenway really brings it too. And it's coming from a Yankee fan. Listen, I'll own it. Listen, when the Yankees and the Red Sox are in the playoffs, you know you're going to have a packed house, and you know your crowd's really going to bring it. It's true. Now, I wish Yankee Stadium was the old Yankee Stadium, because nothing will ever top that unless you went to the 2017 wild card game. And also some other moments after that. In 2009, I think, obviously you could say that as well. But I was only, as I knock over my mic, I'm only saying that because I was at the 2017 wild card game. And it was one of the best moments I've ever had at a game. I always bring it up. Now, I also went to a wild card game, a couple years prior when they got shut out by Dallas Keuchel. So I've seen both sides of it. But I've had a good track record with playoff games recently. I went to Game 1 against the Royals last year in the Division Series. I went to the Guardians Game 1 in the Division Series a couple years ago. So I got a 3-1 postseason record. I don't know if I'm going to either of the games this week, but hopefully I at least get to one. If not, it is what it is. But, it's a there's nothing like postseason baseball. Nothing like postseason baseball. But yeah, no, the Yankees got to make sure the crowd stays in it. They don't want the Red Sox taking them out quickly. But yeah, no, this is a huge opportunity for Judge to kind of silence the critics and get things going in a hurry and go on a postseason run. Go on a postseason run, because it's really like the last thing that Judge has to do is have a good postseason. Because if he could do that, look, he's still not going to be, at the same level as the all-time greats when it comes to the Yankees, but you're going to be moving up that, you're going to move up that ladder even more. Because I mean, with what he's doing with the home runs, and now he won the batting title. I mean, winning the batting title and hitting 50 plus homers. I mean, that's not normal. He's really he's quite the player. I mean, he's to me at 25 years old is probably the best player I've ever seen. And you could say, oh yeah, it's Yankee bias. Not really. Not really. Look at the numbers. Could be winning his third MVP. I mean, he's awesome, and very fortunate that he's a part of a team that I have grown up watching and rooting for. So, yeah, I mean, the postseason run, a World Series championship, that would do a lot for his legacy. So I'm hoping he steps up and has a postseason for the ages. But now, who's going to be that other guy that steps up? That's another thing. Who's going to be that other guy? Because last year, this is why it's very important Judge has a big postseason, because you got Stanton. Stanton always shows up for the postseason. But last year, you had Juan Soto. Now Juan Soto's not there. So who is that going to be that other guy? Obviously, yeah, you want it to be Judge, but is it going to be Cody Bellinger, who's had big moments in the postseason? Is it going to be Jazz Chisholm, who did not have a good postseason last year? Is it going to be Ben Rice, who I don't think is going to be in the starting lineup tonight, but could be in later in a pinch hit situation? Who is it going to be? Who? Trent Grisham? With all the big moments he's had this year? We'll have to wait and see. But somebody else has to step up. And every year, I always say this, I always worry about the Yankees lineup when it comes to the postseason, because when they face good pitching, a lot of times they don't hit. I worry about it. Happened towards the end of Jeter's career, the early 2010s. They get to the postseason, they can't hit against the Rangers and the Tigers. And then it's happened during Judge's career plenty of times. That's why I always worry about it. But yeah, who is going to be that other guy that steps up? We'll see. I have confidence in the rotation. I think the Yankees will hit a little bit, obviously, because, I mean, the Yankees did lead the league in runs scored. I know we could say that that's, it's skewed because, a lot of times they would blow teams out that had bad bullpens. I get it. But it does account for something. But it does worry me when you're a team that heavily relies on the home run, because they hit plenty of home runs this weekend. And that was the driving force to their wins. So, but I think the pitching will do good enough to keep them in games. They just got to get those timely hits. And the other thing, too, is, everybody, they have to play a clean... This is a big concern of mine. They have to play a clean brand of baseball. They have to. Because I could definitely see at a crucial point in one of these games, they got to make a play, and somebody doesn't make the right baseball play. Boots the ball. And that creates havoc. And that leads to runs being scored. And opportunities are taken advantage. And Red Sox taking advantage of these opportunities. I do worry about that. So the Yankees got to make sure that they're tight. And for the most part, recently, they've been fine. But now you're going up against better competition, and better competition can expose all of that. The Red Sox, and if they move on, Blue Jays do the same thing. So it worries me. It worries me. But we'll have to see. We will have to see. Should be a fun series. I know ESPN is salivating because, once again, they get another Yankees-Red Sox matchup. They get at least two more of them because they just love jamming it down casual baseball fans' throats every season. And I get it. Yankees-Red Sox, it brings ratings. But for a lot of people, they're just tired of it. They're tired of seeing it. Well, you're going to see it at least one more time this year. So, obviously, I would like the Yankees to win this series. I'm going to say they do it in 3 games. I'm going to say the Yankees win in 3 games, and they move on and they take on the Blue Jays. And that would be a very fun series if we get to that. And the Yankees, I think, would like to see that happen because of after what the Blue Jays did to them. This could be a revenge tour for the Yankees. They knock off the Red Sox. They knock off the Blue Jays. I mean, this is not it's not the AL Central like it was last year. You're facing teams in your own division that you struggled against. Like, show that you belong. But yeah, I'm going to say the Yankees win in 3 games. I don't know if people want to hear that, but that's what I think. Then, Tigers-Guardians. Listen, the Guardians have been playing really good baseball as of late. Tigers have not. I think I'll take the Guardians to win that series. I'll take the Padres over the Cubs. And then I'm going to take the Dodgers over the Reds to win their series. Sorry, Reds. But I actually wanted to bring up the MVP race now really quickly. The Mariners did get the 2 seed, so they're on a bye. They play the winner of the Guardians and the Tigers. But who should be the MVP? It's just, look, I've said it. I think if Cal Raleigh wins, I'm not going to be up in arms like, oh, Judge got robbed again. I can't believe this. I think Judge should be the MVP. I think you strictly look at the numbers. All categories besides home runs. And Judge had 53. Cal Raleigh had 60, which, again, unbelievable season. 60 home runs for Cal Raleigh. He led in RBIs, but, Judge won the batting title. 50-plus homers again. Not that far off in RBIs. Raleigh had like 11 more. He had like 125. The OPS is unbelievable. Slugging, on base. And Judge is a plus defender. I get it, he was hurt, missed some time, wasn't playing the field for a while, was DHing. But this is Aaron Judge's MVP. And let's not forget, Judge was I forgot all about this because it was so long ago. Aaron Judge was batting .400 for like a month and a half. What the guy does is just it's you can't believe it. You can't believe what you're watching. You got to appreciate it. I thought, the argument, Cal Raleigh plays catcher, it's the hardest position. I think when you bring up, he's got a great nickname, when you bring that up, your argument is immediately flawed. Okay? Don't say a certain player deserves to win MVP. Don't try to validate your point because of his nickname. Really? The big dumper? He should win the MVP because he's the big dumper. No. You say he should win MVP because he had 60 homers. Catcher, I get it. He's switch hitting catcher. Home runs, RBIs, had this great year. The team won the division. They're in the playoffs. All that. Don't bring up the nickname. The nickname should not have any effect on if he wins MVP or not. Because then we could say, well, the Yankees all rise. Judge's chambers. Plays. No. Because I think if you say it's because of his nickname, no, that should have nothing to do with him winning MVP or not. I think that should not be part of your argument. Sorry. I respect all the other points. Nickname, no. Oh, he's got a cool nickname. Whatever. But yeah, I think Judge should win the MVP. That's my pick. Again, coming from a Yankee fan, the bias, whatever. So what? You don't think Judge had a great year? Really? You don't think Judge deserves to win MVP just as much, if not more, than Cal Raleigh? I think more than Cal Raleigh. But if Cal Raleigh gets it, he deserves it. He had a great year. He performed like no catcher really has ever performed with the 60 homers. He did something like no catcher's ever done before. 60 homers. Switch hitter. Unbelievable. It's a great year. It'll be remembered in the history books. But for Judge, he deserves it. And I think also, great point I saw on TikTok, it's because, Judge, this is just an Aaron Judge year. Because we become so spoiled, like we're used to, Judge does this all the time. He doesn't need to win it. The same thing with Ohtani. Oh yeah, Ohtani, he does this all the time. He doesn't deserve to win MVP. Give it to somebody else. What we're seeing from Aaron Judge, again, we really have not seen that often. He's once in a generation. So, yeah, that's people being, if you want to say, spoiled. But yeah, I think it should be Judge. If it's not Judge, again, it's fine. Because Judge, I think, is on a mission to do something else. I don't think he's worried about the MVP. He's worried about something else. He wants a ring on his finger this year. And if he gets a ring, look, if Cal Raleigh wins the MVP and Judge wins World Series MVP, I think Yankee fans would sign up for that. 10 times out of 10. So that's my thoughts on the MVP. Hopefully I was rational for you. If not, whatever. I don't think what I said was bad. I said Cal Raleigh deserves to win MVP. Also, it's going to be a close race. All right, so the playoffs are set. All right, we went over the playoff matchups for the wild card round. So the teams that are on byes, the Brewers, the Phillies. So the Brewers clinched home field advantage. The Phillies are the number 2 seed. Dodgers are the 3. We went over they're playing the Reds. We went over that. Blue Jays got the 1. Mariners got the 2 there on the bye. They'll be playing the winner of Guardians Tigers. We went over that. Yankees Red Sox. Whoever wins plays Blue Jays. Okay, but I want to get to one more thing. Okay, and that is I got to talk about the other New York team that didn't make the playoffs. So the New York Mets. Okay, the New York Mets finished the regular season 83-79, tied with the Cincinnati Reds. But because the Cincinnati Reds own the tiebreaker over the Mets didn't make the playoffs. The Mets lost 2 out of 3 against the Marlins over the weekend. The Mets at one point had the best record in baseball. The Mets at one point were 45-24, and they ended their season 83-79. I mean, this was shades of 2007. I mean, at least for me, this was the worst collapse I've ever seen from a baseball team that had this kind of payroll. I mean, with all the expectations, all the talk in the offseason, here come the Mets. They get Juan Soto. And the fact that they don't even make the playoffs, and expanded playoffs, by the way, where 3 wild card teams make it, is an utter failure. And I can't believe it. Like, I thought they would at least get in. Like, I know I mean, it's been more than scuffling. I mean, they're kind of going through a stretch like the Yankees. But I thought they would at least get in as a wild card team, and you see what happens. But it just got to the point where it was just too much to overcome. You could point to the trade deadline. They didn't go after a starter. At times, they don't get the big hit when they need to. They make a mistake in the field, base running. I mean, like the Yankees. Now, I'm not going to say I watched the Mets closely this year. I watched from afar. But I thought that there was enough on this team that they would have been able to overcome all these struggles and at least just get in and have a chance. Because if the Mets got in, I mean, nobody's going to want to play them because of who they have in their lineup. But they didn't even get in. They didn't even get in. To me, like, I know there's people that are going to say there's more than one reason, and I would agree with that. I think the biggest reason is they didn't go out and try to get a starting pitcher, that they didn't improve this rotation in the offseason, that they took a lot of gambles. Okay, Frankie Montas, again, I'm going to bring him up. Everybody knew that signing was not going to work. And it didn't. He was hurt immediately. Then he came back, wasn't great. They put him in the bullpen. And then and I'm pretty sure, right, he got hurt again. That didn't pan out. Sean Manaea, which I was fine with them bringing back. I think they should have brought him back because he pitched well last year. Got very tired in the postseason, but I mean, I thought that was fine bringing him back. Clay Holmes was a bit of a head scratcher, but he, I guess, was better than advertised. But then, like, you didn't bring back Quintana. I think you should have brought back Quintana instead of Frankie Montas. I think maybe they could have tried to work something out with Severino. But again, I'm not going to really fault them for letting Severino walk. But then it's just with Kodai Senga, and just, he gets hurt, and then he's just not the same. And then they had to send him down. And then they had to rely on all these young kids because they didn't go out and try to trade for somebody at the deadline. Because they just assumed that what we have in-house is fine with our rotation. Did you see what your rotation looked like in the postseason last year? You had guys that couldn't go deep into games. And then you're overusing your bullpen. You have to go to your bullpen early. Everybody's exhausted. Everybody's tired. It doesn't work. You need some guys that can give you length. And that goes for everybody in baseball. You need guys that give you length. Like Max Fried and Garrett Crochet tonight, they both could go 7 innings, 7+ innings. You still need starting pitchers that can do that. The Mets really don't have that. And they had David Peterson, David Peterson all-star this year, was doing great, and then he just completely fell off. He completely fell off. Their rotation is a mess, and that's why they had to bring up all the young guys. And really only one of them was pitching really well. In McLean. Sprode and Tong. I mean, Tong was the worst out of the three, but you know what? Tong's a kid. They're all kids. You can't be relying on all these guys to get you in the postseason and pitch in these big games. Like, at least in 2015. Like, yeah, you brought up Steven Matz and you brought up Syndergaard. But you had Matt Harvey and DeGrom that have already, gone through an entire season, or Harvey was a few seasons in. The Mets, they're relying on these three guys. They never pitched in the major leagues before. And you have nobody in your rotation already that you can rely upon. Like I said, Peterson completely fell off. Manaea, not the same pitcher he was last year. Clay Holmes is not a starter. And it's just, you got all these good years out of Lindor and Alonso, and Soto was awesome this year. Somehow wasn't an all-star, but he had a great year. And Nimmo was solid this year. Your top four, they're one of the best top four in baseball. They're clicking on all cylinders. But yeah, then you get past that and you're like, That's where we got a little bit of an issue. Mark Vientos was disappointing. Alvarez was disappointing. Jeff McNeil, not the batting title Jeff McNeil that he was. You didn't get any production out of center field, really. Tyrone Taylor, I guess, was the best one you had. You tried and you went out and got Cedric Mullins, and he just turned out to be a non-player. Starling Marte is not the Starling Marte of old. He's an older player now. But their top four is very good. And then you look at the bullpen. The only one you really have trust in is Edwin Diaz. And I think there's one or two, one other reliever I think that they have that I guess maybe they trust. But the guys they got at the deadline. Helsley, not good. Trevor Rogers was a disappointment. Not as much as Helsley. And just, now here we are. And guess what? Steve Cohen called out the fans. He said, all right, we got Soto. We did our job. We did our part. Now you got to come to the games. And Met fans showed up this year. They did. They showed up in bunches to support this team. And they got slapped in the face. And Steve Cohen, released a statement. They're going to go into the offseason and try to correct it. Well, you better. You better. Because Met fans are tired of this. Met fans thought they won the offseason. They came within 2 games of going to the World Series last year. And you get Juan Soto. You expect to go over the top now and get to the World Series for the first time in 10 years. And they don't even get into the playoffs. In an expanded playoff, they don't get in. With the highest or second highest payroll. One of the highest payrolls in baseball, anyways. How does that happen? How does that happen? I mean, I think this falls on the GM. That's to me, it's the GM. You could say what you want about Mendoza. To me, this is roster construction. Okay, this team was not complete. There was things that needed to be addressed. When you have this kind of window that you have now opened, you need to take advantage of it. And you need to maximize it. You still got a long way to go. But, I mean, coming off of the season that they did last year, vibes were high. You get Juan Soto. This team should have been at least in the National League Championship Series this year. They're not in the playoffs. So there are things the Mets can do to fix it. They got the resources to fix it. So I don't think, like, if you're a Yankee fan and you're dunking on the Mets today, like, listen, yeah, the Yankees might have won the battle now, but it's still a war, if you want to call it that. Okay? The Mets still have this window with Juan Soto. Okay? And Juan Soto's not going anywhere. Juan Soto is going to put up monster numbers for the next several years, beyond his 20s, mid-30s, even maybe past his mid-30s as he gets old, as he gets towards the end of this contract. They got some things they need to do. And I think if you give these guys, these young guys, more experience in the big leagues, then maybe it pays off and they end up being forces in your rotation. They got put in a tough spot. But I think not going out and trying to get a frontline starter, I mean, that was a big mistake. That was a big mistake. You needed a frontline starter, and they didn't have that. They didn't have that. They thought they did. I think a lot of the things that happened to him, they just didn't see coming. Like, they didn't see David Peterson falling off like this. They didn't see Kodai Senga getting hurt and just not getting the job done. They didn't see it. But again, this falls on the front office for not being prepared for it in case it does happen. So I think pitching. I think you have to improve this bottom of the order. Maybe you bank on Vientos and Alvarez bouncing back. Because I think at times they showed you something. Like Alvarez hit that big home run against the Cubs, and you're thinking, all right, the Mets are gonna go on a run now. This is where they turn it around and they make it. But that didn't happen. And Vientos, compared to last year, I mean, he was nowhere near the player he was. So there's that. But pitching, got to address that. And the other thing, too, is Pete Alonso. You know, Pete said he's going to opt out. Are the Mets going to pony up, give him the contract, and bring him back next year? Because he had a great year. Or is it just going to be like a standoff like it was last offseason? Then it finally gets to the point where Pete says, I'm done, I'm going somewhere else, and he's going to sign elsewhere. And then the Mets are going to be left with, I don't know, at first base. Because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. ain't walking through that door. Nope. Not happening. So what's it going to be? They're going to bring Pete back? Make him an all-time Met? Because he deserves to be? I agree with that 100%. Mets haven't really had that in a while. They can get that from him? Or are you going to let another one walk? What's it going to be? I honestly, for me right now, I would lean towards him leaving. I would lean more towards him leaving. I mean, listen, he got this contract, and he put together a really good year. But it's up to the Mets. Pete wants to be a Met. But do the Mets want Pete? Pete wants the Mets. Do the Mets want Pete? We'll see. We'll see. So, yeah, look, if you're dunking on the Mets, I get it. But, listen, we got a long way to go with this window. This window is still wide open for this team. And like I said, they got the resources to bounce back next year. But if we get further along into this contract with Soto, this window, and the Mets are not even, like, shown any signs of improvement and making deep playoff runs and getting to a World Series and potentially winning a World Series, then we'll come back to this and say, yeah, this didn't work out. But at least for the first year, massive disappointment. Massive disappointment. So that's my take on the Mets. So that's pretty much it when it comes to baseball for today. Now I got another episode I want to record, my reaction to Week 4. So that'll be coming out as well. But, yeah, no, playoffs should be good. Playoffs should be good. All starts today. It starts in a little bit. And it might be going on right now. Well, it will be going on right now once this is posted finally. But as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below. And wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports. And you can listen to us there. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one. Talk to you guys next time. Take care.